And then we also have Mr. Steve with us here today. He'll be talking a little bit later. So I'm Beck's community intervener, and Steve is direct support. Go ahead. Sorry, I volunteered you for that position. So first we'll talk about Beck's story, a little bit of transition and inclusion. I'll talk about my work with Beck. Steve will talk about his work, and then we'll open up for questions. So this is Mr. Beck. He was a 23-week, 15-ounce micro premature miracle baby, as Mom says. And now in January, he'll be 21 years old. He had a lot of complications when he was first born, but now, as you can see, he's very capable and very able, very independent. In high school, he got honor roll at Pine Creek, and he also gave a speech at graduation in ASL, which he is fluent in. His independence increases through our supportive transition services, mine, Steve's, and we have some couple people in the back as well. Beck plays shortstop on his baseball team, and usually he does have another support there with him that's a volunteer for that baseball program. But I went one time with him and helped him out a little bit, and that was really fun, and just in the 10 minutes that I was there with him, he improved so much. He is also a huge gamer. He is always on the leaderboard, and his mom let us know that his name is in lights in Vegas on the Pac-Man. And so his favorite games are Pac-Man, Subway Surfers, and Justice Batman. At Chuck E. Cheese on Subway Surfers, the only name on the leaderboard is Beck. And in Justice Batman, he loves to play at Control Room and at the Summit, which is now the main event. In Pac-Man, he'll play anywhere. He also has 2 Pac-Man games at home that he plays. His favorite music is the Ramones, Salt and Peppa, and Stevie B. Salt and Peppa is something that we listen to a lot together in the car. I just got a new sound system in my car, so he loves to turn up the bass and get that music going. Some of his favorite foods, which he wanted me to add, was hot dogs, cheeseburgers, and french fries. Beck was offered his first job at Chuck E. Cheese without even applying, one, because he goes there so much, so he knows it so well. And they just saw how independent he is and figured he could be a game attendant or something like that, maybe work behind the counter. And then Beck also plans to attend UCCS through the Inclusive Services Program. And then I remembered this time. Last time I forgot to mention that he loves SpongeBob. So I got you this time. Okay, next slide. So this is a picture of Beck and his mom at pre-graduation, and then the taller picture is his graduation outfit. So Beck's mom is the CEO of the Peak Parent Center, and so she is very involved in his life and she's a strong advocate for any other parents with kids with disabilities. And so most of the information on this PowerPoint is from some other PowerPoints that she had created for parent perspectives and other transition tips. So she wrote, as we look into the eyes of our students and their families, we see abundant potential and a path towards a more inclusive world. Together, acting in the way that you all choose to embody, we can manifest that societal shift, thus creating independence in our kiddos. So here's some tips for successful transitioning in a world that's not always inclusive or accommodating for our kids. So first, this one's for me. I said, take the time to pair and build rapport with your students. This will allow them to be more willing to interact with you and do things that you ask them to do, following instructions or being more willing to learn those independent skills. When I first heard about Beck, it was on paper, and this is not what I saw. I heard maybe he might have some behaviors. He is deaf and blind, but only partially both. But I don't know what that means on paper. So when I first met him, I used a lot of sign language while talking, but then through being with him for a while, I learned that he wasn't any more or less receptive if I used both. And I've even asked him, do you want me to use more sign? Do you care if I talk more, whatever? And he doesn't care. And also asking mom and dad what they prefer. they mostly vocally talk with him, but like he has a signing para, and at his SCC, they use more sign language. So then we have identifying people and organizations that can help the child and their families. So like I mentioned, Beck's mom is the CEO of Peak. Then we also have TRE, DVR, ABA therapy, which I'm also involved in, and then SCC. So Beck has 2 SCC programs that he goes to. And then our program is community intervention, but I'm also training to be an RBT at my other job, so I kind of throw some behavior creation in there as well. Because even if, a lot of times when we hear behavior, we think a bad behavior or something like that, but the thing we say in ABA is if a dead man can do it, then it's not behavior. So anything that you do is a behavior. We can create positive behaviors and help fade away from negative behaviors, and create also those independent behaviors as well. So then we have advocate for families of children with disabilities, transition age youth, and even other educators and professionals working with your student. So advocating, if you know that your kiddo is not involved in any community programs, maybe letting parents know, hey, this might be a good idea for them to get involved in this as early as they can. I know our transition kiddos usually start at 18, but my other kiddo that I work with, she's 8, and so letting her parents know ahead of time, like, hey, as soon as she's ready to get into transition, get those things going. And then advocating for your other professionals that work with your kids. Same thing, if you think if your kiddo would benefit from ABA therapy or maybe job coaching or something like that, advocate for them. And then encouraging your district to have a SCAC. I can't speak much on that, that's just what Michelle said. But I figured that was a good one. I haven't heard much about SCACs, so I assume that they're not that often occurring, so maybe making sure that whatever school you're at, making sure you guys have one. Helping parents to better understand the transition process and communicating concerns early. So if you know a lot about the transition process, or like I said, advocating for those other organizations, letting them know like, hey, if the kiddo is a little more rigid and it takes them time to get used to change, starting those things early, or like a little bit of this, little bit of that. You don't want to just throw the whole thing at them. And then communicating those concerns. So like with Beck, my only really concern is his safety. So when we're walking around, we're always locked arms, just in case he trips, I can catch him right there. But other than that, like when we go out, he'll play a game and I'll come sit over here and let him do his thing. I don't want to be right there, because then that's not helping him be independent. So then we have parents want to hear the good news, as we all do. And if you do have to communicate that bad news, making sure that your language is positive. You don't want to say, Beck engaged in this many negative behaviors today, or he had a really hard time doing this, and that. You can say, Beck tried really hard to do this today. Beck, gave his all, or was receptive to help from teacher doing da-da-da-da. Things like that, making it more positive. And then our community interventions are in support of your guys' school programs to improve the services and the outcomes for the kiddos. A lot of times I've heard that when there is RBTs or ABA therapy or any other kind of support, outside support of school coming into a classroom, teachers are a little hesitant to accept that support. So just remembering that we're here to help you guys. You guys aren't trained to deal with behavior. If somebody goes into a behavior, that's what the other person's there for. And then contriving opportunities for your student to learn valuable functional skills for the real world. So on Monday in the other class I explained maybe if you guys created a grocery shopping experience and you cut out little pieces of different groceries and this costs this costs that, okay, give them $20 and see what, teach them how to functionally, make change and how to interact with the grocery clerk. Or when me and Beck go out, because he loves playing games so much, we go to arcade bars a lot and things like that. So I teach him how to interact with the bartenders and how to say thank you at the right times, functionally, and things like that. So, I think that's good. And this is just a little quote that I put in, that diversity is the mix, but inclusion is making the mix work. So you have all your different kinds of kiddos, but the inclusion piece is making sure that they have equal access and opportunity to those resources. So inclusion, we were just talking about this before we got started, but student voice matters. As you heard, Beck has a little bit of a voice, but he doesn't communicate mostly through vocal voice. So sometimes if he'll sign one word to me, and then I have to kind of figure out, oh, are you saying this, this, this? And if I can tell, if he kind of just stands there, I'm like, okay, that's not what you were saying. And so then I'll offer him my phone if he wants to type out the whole sentence that he's thinking of. Just finding those other opportunities for them to have a preference, to have a voice, to not pick things for them. Yeah, so your student likely has a preference. Even if it's, do you want this red pencil or the blue one? Like, that's a simple choice that you can offer them. Writing your IEP transition goals that focus not only on academic skills, but skills for independent living, community, secondary education. Like I said, Beck plans to come to UCCS. So when we came in today, I showed him, this is where you see where the classes are. Let's look at the signs. What number are we looking for? And then so that way we're both navigating. I've also never been in this building either, but I just graduated from UCCS in May, so I was like, I knew this was over here. So some other things you can put in is social and emotional goals, communication, money management, and things like that. Engage with your community supports early to help build skill acquisition. Like I said, as soon as we can get in there, encouraging mom and dad to enroll them in other supports. And our exceptional students will live rich, active lives, participating as full members of their community, and having that choice and independence helps them build that. Through their gifts and strengths, we can help to develop their identity, and this leads to capacity-based connection and independent engagements across all environments. So a big thing, even in our IEP meetings, I had never been to an IEP meeting before Beck's. And that's because Michelle is so fierce in her advocacy, and she wants everybody to be on the same page. I will say, a lot of parents probably aren't as fierce as Beck's mom, so encouraging them to do that. Like, hey, if you have other people who want to come in and see what we're doing in school, that way it can generalize to the community, that would be great. So, yeah, encouraging that as well. I think that's good. Okay, wait, actually, go back. Sorry. I forgot to talk about the pictures last time. So, these are some pictures out in the community with Beck. The top one, like I said, Pac-Man, that's at the Penny Arcade. He will only play the Pac-Man games, but that's fine because there's like 6 of them, so he'll go around and play all the different ones. This middle picture is me and Beck at prom. I went with him to his senior prom, and we were the first ones on the dance floor, and I was like, are you sure there's nobody out there yet? He's like, let's go. I was like, all right, let's do it. So we went out there and had a great time, and we got the party started, and that was really a learning opportunity for me as well, because I would never go on the dance floor first by myself. But he had me and I had him, and we had a good time. And then after prom was at Topgolf, and this is a picture after Beck had been playing for a while, and when he first started, I tried to let him do his own thing. I don't want to intervene if he doesn't need me to. And so I let him go up there, and he watched his friends first, and then so he went and tried and was kind of having a little trouble. And so after a while, I came and asked him, like, would you like me to show you what might work better? And so he nodded, and so then I, hand over a hand and helped him get the motions in, and then after that, he was hitting the balls all the way to the yellow circle and everything. It was great. It was a really cool opportunity to see him just grow that quickly. Okay, now I'm ready. So now this is my piece. So like I said, I'm Beck's community intervener. I work for Family Voices of Colorado, which just got signed into state funding. And we were a pilot program when I met Beck. but now we're official, and so hopefully that'll bring lots of new opportunities for us. But so my job is a little different than a group setting, because like I said, I'm one-on-one with Beck, so I have more opportunity to allow him time if he's not ready to do something, or if he needs more help with something. And I'm also trained to be more aware of his auditory and visual needs, and making sure he stays safe and things like that. But he's very, like, he'll accommodate himself if he needs to, and then he'll let me know if he needs more. But so when we go out in the community, I'm focused on community interaction, expressive communication, and emotional regulation. More recently, we've been going through a lot of emotional regulation strategies, and teaching Beck that it's okay to have other emotions than just be happy all the time. And I tell him, he knows we've been working on it, huh? And teaching him calming strategies, and letting him know, like, if I come to pick him up one day and he doesn't want to go out, we don't have to, most of the time he'll get it together and be like, no, I want to go. But then that expressive communication, also with the emotions, letting us know, like, if he feels sad or upset about something, the way that something went. When I first met him, he wouldn't tell you how he was feeling at all. Even if you asked him, tried to pry it out of him. But now Mom and Dad are telling me that he'll, as soon as he wakes up in the morning, if he's not feeling good, he'll let them know. And then he can stay home if he chooses to, or one day he had a stomach ache, and Mom and Dad said that he let them know, and they're like, that's never happened. He would just go on, not feeling good for the whole day. So that's great. And then our community interaction, making sure, even when we go get a cup of water, he only drinks water. And so when we go to, like, a bartender and ask for water, I always, ask him, like, what do you want? And then he'll sign water. And then most people know this is water. But if the bartender doesn't know, then I'll clarify he'd like a glass of water, but try to involve him as much as he can, because he's very independent. And really it's just that communication barrier when we're out in the community. So like I said, I work on functional communication, behavior interventions, building that independence behavior at home and in the community, money management, and parent training as well. When I first met Beck, he would blow through his money as soon as we get to control room or the summit or wherever. But now we can make it almost a whole 2-hour session, and him still have money at the end of it. He's been working really hard on that, huh? Yeah. And also his interactions in the community, I wanted to highlight. Just last weekend we were at Chuck E. Cheese, and it was so busy. I've never seen it that busy in the time that we've been going. And there was a guy playing Subway Surfers, which is his favorite game. And usually when it's not busy, he'll kind of camp at the game and just, hang out on there, which is why he's the only name on the leaderboard. But I explained to him, there's a lot of people here, so let's try not to hang out at one game, go spread your money around and spread your time around. And luckily that guy was there, so he could start at a different game. And also that's breaking that rigidness. But then the guy ended up camping at the game for like 30 minutes, and Beck came over and kind of like stood behind the guy, and the guy saw him but never offered for him to have a turn or anything. And so Beck walked away, and then he came back a little bit later and kind of stood there again, and the guy didn't move. So I was like, okay. So then he came to me and was kind of like looking at me like, and I'm like, I know, I see him. And, so then I was like, okay, we'll eat our food, and then if he's still there, then I'll go and, make sure you get a turn. And so we went over, and because Beck was kind of standing behind the guy, so maybe he couldn't have seen him, but I got in front of him, and I was like, hey, can my friend have a turn? And he turned and saw it was Beck and was like, oh yeah, no, of course, go ahead. And I'm like, thanks. But like, he can't speak up for himself in that situation. Even if he were to try to with sign language, who's to say that guy's gonna understand that? And So that was really good. Beck was so patient waiting for that, and then he got his turn, and then some little kids came up and seemed like they wanted a turn, and he let them have a turn, and then came back in when they were done, and it was just such a great opportunity, and I was like, Beck, that was so awesome. And then with the parent training piece, like I mentioned, I'm training to be an RBT, and I'm in behavior therapy, so I've mentioned to parents the functions of behavior, which the acronym is EATS, so escape, attention, tangibles, or sensory. And so any behavior that we engage in has one of those functions. And so that's helped a lot with Mom understanding why sometimes he gets stuck on some words and like perseverates, or sometimes Beck's really been working hard on not throwing his iPad when he gets upset. And Mom and Dad even said the other day that he had got upset and raised his iPad to throw it, but then caught himself and came back down and calmed down and didn't end up engaging in that behavior. And so that was really awesome. But I think other than that, most importantly, having a good time. Like I said, we're always out in the community. I am also a bartender. I have 3 jobs. And so I brought him to my bar and help include him in our community. And so if he were to come in by himself or with somebody else, they know, oh, that's Beck. He's good, he'll just come play games, do his thing. And they've learned some of our bartenders' names now, and just like at the control room, it's going to be another familiar place for him. But yeah, I think that's it, and I'll hand it over to you, Steve.
Hello.
And I'll jump back in.
I'm going to try not to read off this, but So my name's Steven. I work with Foundations for Successful Living. It's a day program. We're actually right across the way in the university office buildings right across here. It's a day program. It's a day program that has the SCC and the transition program. So the SCC is a program that is for 18 years and older. And they're more or less people who've kind of been out in the community or been out of school for a while, and the transition is the transition kids from high school. Usually they're 18 to 21, 22. So I work with both programs. Beck is part of both of the programs. The school districts usually fund about 3 days of transition programs for the high school students. The difference between the 2 programs are slight or small. We bring everybody out in the community. We volunteer at sites like the Marion House as a soup kitchen. We used to go to the senior center to serve food. We go to Camp Bow Wow, a couple dog places that we help walk dogs. The transition program is a community, or the waiver program is a community-based program. So we're out in the community every day with groups of clients. We're teaching them how to be interactive with the community, be social, using math skills, money skills, anything that to make them to be independent. Try to get them close as possible to be independent, even living on their own. Same thing with the transition personnel. The only difference is the transitions are really new to the world per se. They're newer with dealing with money skills. They're newer with interacting with others. We offer both of those programs. We also offered a massage therapy program with individuals with mobility issues. And then we also offer the job supportive employment help. So we go into places with clients and help them with jobs and working in a daily job. I've been working with Beck since, when did he come to us? I think the summertime. So we've been working together for a while, right, Beck? Like Zoe said, the biggest thing with working with individuals with disabilities is you gotta kind of show them that you care and that you're really involved with them. The biggest thing is, the relationship. They could sense if you're gonna be around them or you want to be around them. They have a very good sense of people. It's really just taking the time and effort to slow everything down so you can understand them, so they can understand you. Have fun. I tell all the clients I'm the same. We're all the same. The only difference that we have is how we cope with things. I tell them that I cry, you cry, you know, we bleed, you bleed, you laugh, I laugh. We have all these